When I first saw the house, I thought it was a resort. Marble driveway, ivy-covered walls, 3 floors, each with massive glass windows, a pool out back that shimmered like a magazine ad. This wasn't just a job, it was a different world. I had just turned 24. Recently graduated with a degree in early childhood education, drowning in student loans, and living in a cramped apartment with 2 roommates and 1 always broken toilet. So, when I got the call from a private nanny agency about a high-paying, full-time position with a wealthy family in the hills of Los Angeles, I said yes before they finished the offer. The family name was Monroe. The mother, Vanessa, was a socialite and fashion consultant. Always away. The father, Daniel, was a tech entrepreneur. Quiet. Distant. The kind of man you didn't notice right away, but once you did, he stayed in your thoughts. And then there was Ava, their 4-year-old daughter. That first day, she hid behind the velvet curtains and peeked at me with curious eyes. "She's shy," Daniel said, standing at the doorway in a pressed white shirt, sleeves rolled up, wedding ring catching the sunlight. "She'll warm up to you." He didn't say much else. Just handed me a schedule, told me where the first aid kit was, and disappeared into his office. Vanessa wasn't there. I wouldn't meet her until a week later. I thought that was strange. But the paycheck was real, and more than anything I'd ever made. Days turned into weeks. Ava clung to me more and more. I cooked for her, played games, taught her to read her name. She started calling me Nina B, a nickname she made up on her own. Daniel started appearing more too, not often, but enough. There were moments. Like when he walked into the kitchen one night while I was cleaning up and said, "You're good with her. She hasn't smiled like that in months." Or when he stayed in the hallway for an extra beat after saying goodnight. But I reminded myself, he was married. I was the nanny. This was just a job. Until Vanessa came home. She swept in like a storm. Perfume too strong, heels clicking too loud. She looked at Ava like a prop and at me like a nuisance. Daniel's smile faded the second she entered the room. They argued behind closed doors. I wasn't supposed to hear, but the walls weren't that thick. "She's just a child," he hissed one night. "She's your child," Vanessa snapped. I didn't sign up for this life. That's when I realized something. This perfect family wasn't perfect. Not even close. And somewhere between comforting Ava and avoiding Vanessa's glares, I started to notice the way Daniel looked at me. Not just as the nanny. Something more. But I knew better. Or at least, I thought I did. The first time Daniel and I truly talked, not in passing, not about Ava, but really talked, was during a storm. It rarely rained in LA, but when it did, the skies opened like a tantrum. Ava had been scared all day, clinging to my leg, her eyes wide with every clap of thunder. Vanessa was gone again. Another client emergency in Milan. It was just us in the mansion, and the world outside felt 1,000 miles away. After putting Ava to bed, I went downstairs to grab a tea. I didn't expect to find Daniel in the kitchen, barefoot, sleeves rolled up, nursing a glass of red wine. "You look exhausted," he said, his voice soft. "She was scared today," I said, opening the cabinet for a mug. "Thunder's a big deal when you're 4. He smiled faintly. "You're good with her, better than either of us have been lately." The kettle clicked on. The silence between us was charged. "I don't do this often," he said, swirling his wine. "Talk. I've been in work mode so long I forgot how to be present." "Maybe that's what Ava needs most," I said gently. "Not perfection, just presence." His eyes found mine then, and held. "You ever feel like you're living someone else's life?" he asked suddenly. all the time," I whispered. We didn't say anything after that. But something shifted. A recognition. A thread pulled tight between two people who didn't mean to connect but had anyway. Over the next few weeks, things got complicated. Daniel began having lunch at home more often. Sometimes he'd bring an extra sandwich, always the one I liked. We'd sit by the pool while Ava napped. Talked about books, music, regret. There were no physical lines crossed. But the emotional ones, we were tiptoeing all over them. Then came that night. Vanessa came home unannounced, drunk, angry. It was close to midnight. Ava had had a fever, and Daniel had helped me bathe her, his hands brushing mine as we lifted her into warm towels. Vanessa saw us. She didn't say a word, just stared, like she'd caught a secret blooming in silence. The next morning, she pulled me aside. "You're just the help," she said coldly. "Don't forget that." I nodded, heart pounding, throat tight. I didn't respond. But when I walked into the kitchen that afternoon, Daniel was waiting. "She's filing for divorce," he said, voice low. "What?" "She's been gone for months emotionally. We both know it." I didn't know what to say. I couldn't think. My job, my life, was suddenly tangled with emotions I hadn't planned for. Then he said it. "Nina, I think I'm falling for you." Time stopped, and all I could think was, what have I done? After Daniel said it, "I think I'm falling for you," the silence between us wasn't peaceful. It was electric, loud, heavy. I stood there, heart hammering against my ribs, not knowing what to say. His words echoed in my chest, both a thrill and a warning. "You can't say that," I finally whispered. "You're still married. I work for you." Daniel looked down, nodding slowly. "I know, but it doesn't make it untrue." That week, everything changed. Vanessa moved into a luxury condo downtown. She barely said goodbye to Ava. There were no tears, no drama, just distance, cold and polished, like always. Daniel was careful after that, professional, respectful. But there was a softness in his gaze when we crossed paths, a lingering glance, a pause too long when our hands brushed, and me? I tried to bury what I felt. I poured my attention into Ava. She needed stability, and I was determined to give her that. Every bedtime story, every scraped knee, I was there. But late at night, in the quiet of the guest house I stayed in, I'd think of him, of what he said, of how he made me feel seen in a way no one ever had. Then, everything unraveled. It started with a knock at the front door. Vanessa. She looked stunning, as always. Black sunglasses, expensive coat, flawless makeup. But her smile was fake. "I'm taking Ava for the weekend," she said. Daniel wasn't home. I hesitated. I wasn't told. She pushed past me. "She's my daughter. I don't need permission." Ava clung to my leg, confused, sleepy, but Vanessa pulled her away without a backward glance. That night, Daniel came home furious. "She has no legal custody right now. She's playing games." I watched him pace the room, powerless to help. I wasn't family. I wasn't even officially part of their lives. But I wanted to be. That thought hit me hard. I wanted more. Then, 2 days later, Daniel knocked on my guest house door. His tie was undone, his eyes tired. "I don't want to pretend anymore," he said. He stepped inside, slow, cautious. "You make me feel like I can breathe again, Nina. Like I'm allowed to be human." I didn't stop him when he leaned in. I kissed him back. It was wrong. Too soon. Too messy. Too complicated. But in that moment, It felt like the only thing in my life that made sense. The next morning, I woke up tangled in his sheets, terrified and exhilarated. But by noon, reality came crashing in. A letter arrived from a lawyer. Vanessa was suing for full custody and accusing Daniel of having an inappropriate relationship with the nanny. Me. The letter felt like it was on fire in my hands. Inappropriate relationship with hired help. That's how Vanessa framed it. Cold. Calculated. I stared at the words as Daniel read over my shoulder. His face hardened. "She's going to try to ruin me," he muttered. Us. The word us made my stomach flip. Were we really an us now? Or just the casualties of a moment that felt like love? "I can leave," I said quietly. "If that's what you need to protect Ava." Daniel turned. To me, his eyes searching. That's not what I want. But what we wanted didn't seem to matter anymore. What followed was a storm. Court dates. Accusations. Vanessa painted me as manipulative, a gold digger, a homewrecker. She even sent photos of me leaving Daniel's bedroom to her attorney. Photos I didn't know had been taken. The judge questioned everything, even Ava's safety. I was no longer just the nanny. I was a scandal. Daniel fought hard, spoke with honesty. His lawyers tried to argue that our relationship had no bearing on his ability to be a good father, but the court was skeptical. In the end, Vanessa didn't win full custody, but she won enough. Limited visitation for Daniel. Weekends only. Monitored. At first, he was devastated. So was Ava. And me? I packed my things and left. Not because Daniel asked me to, but because I knew staying would only fuel the fire. Ava deserved peace, and so did Daniel. We said goodbye quietly. "I don't regret loving you," he said, "even if everything else fell apart." "I don't either," I whispered. I moved back to my hometown, took a job at a daycare, tried to start over. But love doesn't clock out that easily. Daniel would send messages sometimes, updates on Ava, photos, always signed, "Thinking of you." A year passed. Then one day, I saw him standing at the door of the daycare. Older, more tired, but still Daniel. "I waited," he said. "I handled everything. I fixed what I could." Didn't know what to say. I want to try again, but this time, no secrets, no roles, just us. And for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to believe in second chances. Not as a nanny, not as a scandal, just as a woman who loved, lost, and found her way back. Because sometimes love doesn't follow the rules. And sometimes, it's still worth everything, even the cost. Ava was the silent thread that held together everything that had fallen apart, and everything we hoped to rebuild. She was 5 now, taller, her curls a little longer, her eyes a little wiser. I hadn't seen her in almost a year and a half. I only knew her from the pictures Daniel sent. Drawings, school projects, the occasional video of her piano practice. But nothing prepares you for seeing a child again after loving them as your own, and then having to walk away. Daniel arranged a meeting. Not secretly, not with lawyers involved. He did everything right, this time. It was in a quiet park, on neutral ground. Ava saw me first. She ran, not to her father, to me. I knelt, my heart a chaos of hope and guilt and wonder. She hugged me and didn't let go. "I missed you," she said into my shoulder. "I kept your drawing in my backpack the whole time." Tears streamed down my face before I could stop them. "I missed you too, my little pet," I whispered, calling her by the nickname I used when I tucked her into bed at night. Daniel stood, in the distance, watching us with that tired, hopeful look he always had, as if he was always waiting for another bomb to drop, but hoping that this time it wouldn't. A few years later, Vanessa had remarried and moved to another city. She tried to take Ava with her, but Ava refused. She told the judge that she wanted to live with her father. "I want to be where love is a home," she told them. She was 12 at the time, old enough for her voice to matter in family court. And it did. Daniel was granted primary custody after a long battle. He moved to a quieter city, left the corporate world behind, and began consulting remotely. Smaller house, quieter life, more peace. We didn't rush into things. No romantic reunions under the stars, just cautious steps forward. I started visiting again, first on weekends, then more often, helping with homework, movie nights, cooking. Ava's favorite pasta, just the way she liked it. Lots of cheese, not much sauce. Ava wasn't just Daniel's daughter. She was part of both of us now, a bridge between what had been and what we were rebuilding. One night, as I was putting away the dishes, Ava stopped in the doorway. "Will you move in with us again?" I looked at Daniel. He didn't answer for me. "I'd like to," I said, my voice shaking a little. Ava just smiled. "Good, because I've already made room in my closet for your stuff." We laughed, we cried, and for the first time in years I knew the cost was worth it, because Ava didn't just choose her father. She chose love. She chose us. And this time we got to stay.